And now to our first conversation, we see the Nigerian finance sector is facing some significant talent retention challenges with economic instability, migration, dissatisfaction with compensation packages being a major concern. A recent report by Duplo, a provider of technology solutions for African businesses, highlights the need for inflation-adjusted compensation packages. And joining us to discuss that, we have Yele Yekola as the CEO and co-founder of Duplo to discuss the findings and the reports. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so quite interesting. Happy New Year, first of all.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing dissatisfaction.
Makes sense.
When it comes to compensation, definitely it's expected. Inflation, currency devaluation, some people's salaries at some point could fetch them maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. And looking at the report, we're seeing compensation satisfaction, people dissatisfied with their current compensation was about 27% in 2024.
Yeah.
Moderately dissatisfied with current compensation, 29%. Speak to me about this data and how it compares to the previous times.
Yeah, so I think, like you said, it's expected. One thing that we saw in the report was that more than half of the guys that we surveyed earn less than 500K in finance teams in Nigeria. That 500K last year could have meant almost $1,000, like you said. Now it's
at some point over $1,000 go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's halved, significantly. So it makes sense that we're seeing, a significant jump from 14% to about 3% in terms of people being happy with their pay. If you add this together, it's about 56% of people actually not happy at all with their pay. And that has been a massive decline from last year. And it's also very difficult for businesses to adjust to this because they are also facing these issues as well. Inflation is very high, and it's very difficult for businesses to pass this cost to their customers as well. So it's like a case of businesses can't pay because they're not earning as much, and employees aren't happy at all. And how they're solving for this is by just leaving the country and looking for other jobs that could pay better.
Now, I guess it's just like, the birds.
Yeah, exactly.
You watch an animal documentary.
Exactly.
You see the birds, they migrate to different regions.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some kind of drought coming in this region, so they go and look for
other opportunities also.
Other opportunities. So that's what's happening.
That's what's happening. So even in this survey as well, 22% of the people that we surveyed were already outside the country. So it's not looking very good for the finance industry. And just to give context as well, this was just heavily focused on finance teams.
Right.
So I'm sure it's even worse in other, jobs as well. So it's not looking very good. And the hope is that, we can...
And I guess that's also encouraging that the Jackpot syndrome...
Yes.
Did it kind of calm down somehow in 2024?
So it wasn't as...
Same?
Yeah, so 2023, when we did the survey, we actually asked people if they were actually looking to leave. And it wasn't as high as this year's, 2024, I mean. And, but then the issue as well is that because cost of living is expensive, also very difficult for folks to actually find ways to leave the country because now it's more expensive to actually get flights and, afford visas and all these different things. So people are kind of stuck in their jobs. And that's what led to, us, telling businesses to actually find ways to adjust for inflation. But like I said, it's easier said than done.
Because we see the businesses still
also struggling.
At this point, the revenue is not coming as they would like.
Yep.
Profits are dwindling. We're seeing industries like the telecom industry asking for tariff increase.
Yeah.
At this time, even though we're wondering how much the consumer, can take. So it seems it's no one's winning at this point.
No one's winning. But just back to your point about Japa as well. What we're seeing this year is that, for me as a tech provider, what would happen is we focus heavily on finance teams. And every single month, we were pitching to businesses and we're pitching to a new CFO every single month because they're just being replaced. People are just leaving. And just turnover is just, rapid in the industry, across different industries. And yes, mostly to Japa.
So what can an organization do, at this point?
I think, it's in two buckets. So one is the Japa issue, and the other one is the economic issue. On the Japa issue, I think it's almost impossible to solve for that. I think the best a business can do is just provide great working conditions for your employees. make them feel they're actually a part of the business itself, and that could lead to loyalty as well. So that might not stop the Japa issue, but it might just delay it significantly. And secondly is, economic, just tying compensation to inflation as well. So one thing we're seeing businesses do more and more is they kind of increase the base salary, but they're also improving their benefits. So now we're seeing things like grocery allowances, transport stipend, housing stipend as well. So those things can actually help businesses keep their employees better. But Japa is a different beast on its own. It's a personal issue. We're also seeing a lot of people who also wanted to, move abroad for their kids as well. How do you stop that? It's almost impossible. But yes, the best you can do is just provide a great place for your
So even though you're not increasing the salary, you can create benefits.
That could be the easiest way for businesses to solve for these issues.
Is it affordable-ish?
I think it's less, it's cheaper than doing a complete,
full-on
200%
increase.
Yeah. So it's for us at Duplo, for example, we've done inflation-adjusted salaries over the last 3 years. And it's also sustainable for a lot of businesses in Nigeria. We are very lucky that we can do that. Most businesses can't do that. And that's, like I said, that's what's leading to these issues that we're seeing in the data.
Right. And, going back to 2024, we did see some stability for FX. We saw the Naira.
It was
towards the middle, towards the end.
And then it came back.
Then, when all the just got back came in and we saw some inflows. So did that impact at all?
We didn't see that in data. We didn't get that information in data.
Okay.
I think what we saw though is, yes, more people want to leave, more people are trying to leave, but now it's just much difficult for them to leave. And it makes sense because, like I said, we've seen the FX.
Because we also heard about Jackpada.
What's that?
People that left
and they have
to come back.
That's a luxury, That's a luxury. I think that also happens, in the higher, bands of these different, so CFOs, auditors. That happens, but mid-tier, employees, no. I think a lot of people are just trying to go find better opportunities elsewhere and maybe come back when they're, at a certain level. All
right, so let's look at the talent retention challenges there. We see economic instability, about 41.4% of respondents cited that as a significant threat.
Yeah.
Yes, it was talked about the migration, 34.5% cited as a significant threat, also migration. Then the exchange rate fluctuation. So we did see stability at some point. But inflation, we saw moderation, but it started picking back up. So, looking at 2025, it almost seems like we might be coming into 2025 with stability.
I hope so.
That's with the Naira. We're all hoping that, continues. But inflation, that seems to be the wild card at this point. So what do you think can be done to create some kind of satisfaction for employees in 2025? That's not going to cost the business too much.
I think it's very difficult for a business to pass on costs to their customers. So yes, revenue is going to be stagnant, unfortunately. One thing we're seeing now is that we're seeing a lot of businesses trying to use technology to basically solve some of their issues and be a bit more agile and efficient, so they don't have to hire more people. So now if you can retain your talent and just have your employees, the same numbers, year on year, and revenues may be increasing a little bit, you can actually increase salaries there. So one thing, of course, you're trying to just be a bit more efficient with your business, so you can actually pass on the savings to your benefit package for your employees. I think that would be the first thing that businesses should do. And then secondly is, like I said, they're getting benefits. I think the most important thing that a business could have is the talent, right? They drive the business. So investing in that long term and thinking of it as like an investment could be a way for businesses to win over the next 4 or 5 years when we see that things might become a bit more stable. So, it could be like you're actually investing in these people to potentially stay over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Because another thing we're seeing is that even if they leave, for Japa or whatever reason, hiring new people and training them as well is also as expensive. So why don't you pass on those savings to just increasing the salaries or benefits to get them keep them longer? Thirdly is just making employees feel that they're part of the business. So a lot of startups like ours, provide equity packages to employees as well. It's not as expensive in the short term, but the hope is that as the business grows, they also make money as well. So yes, that's something that businesses can do, and that's something we do as a business, and that's helped significantly keeping our talents at bay.
So what about the talents themselves? What should they be doing?
Upskilling.
You did mention upskilling in the report.
Yeah, I think upskilling. So the finance teams tend to be very traditional. And it makes sense, they're dealing with money. But it's very important that, with this wave of technology, AI, data, they just need to upskill, or else, they'll lose their jobs to technology, unfortunately. So yeah, upskilling is very important. We're seeing that a lot of employees actually want to be upskilled, but the businesses aren't helping them do that. I think about 71% showed that, over the last 5 years, they've done some trainings, but that's dwindled significantly over the last 1 year because of, this cost of living issues. So yeah, upskilling is very important. Secondly is, just bringing your best self to work. Right now, a lot of employees are looking for ways to fire people. Any reason, to fire people, unfortunately. So just being very important to your business. And that, like I said, upskilling will probably be the most important thing that employees can do.
So I guess you have to be fireproof.
Almost, yeah. The business can
let go proof.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what advice do you have for, CFOs, at this point? They handle all of the money.
Yeah, I think just very watch for your money. Things won't get better, unfortunately. And I think things might be a bit more stable this year. But, how do you earn more revenue to, help the business grow? But in regards to this topic, I think, just becoming a partner to the business, helping the business think long term. And also becoming, also a partner to the HR team as well. What strategies can you use to basically keep your talents at bay, or keep your talents, still within the business? And like I said, thinking of your employees as an investment.
Are there any success stories you can talk to me about?
Not a lot. I think, like I said, when I speak to businesses about Duplo, I'm seeing that every single month there's a new CFO in the team, it's a new finance manager in the team, and the reason is because people are leaving. So I would say it's more bad stories than success stories across the industry, really. And
from all the data you've seen in 2024, what's that pointing towards 2025? What's the crystal ball saying? I
think it's probably going to be the same. It's like 2023, we saw a massive jump from 14% of people actually being incredibly satisfied with their pay to 3%. The hope is that increases this year as the economy becomes more stable, but it doesn't really look like it. So like I said, inflation is going to continue to rise. FX might be a bit more stable. So I think with this data, it's just showing that 2025 would be the same trend that we saw in 2024.
Right. All right. I guess at some point, everybody gets satisfied.
I hope so.
To employees.
I hope so.
Everyone in the value chain. Thank you so much. It was great having you for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Yele Amoyekola is the CEO and co-founder of Duplo.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back, it's all about investors at this point. What to expect in 2025? What should they be looking at? That's our next conversation. Just stay with us.